What drives me nuts is seeing preppers blow their budget on pricey gear and fancy freeze-dried food while ignoring basic essentials that could save them a ton of money. I've been prepping since 2012, and my biggest rookie mistake was buying a little of everything instead of being strategic. Here are 17 items every smart prepper should stock in bulk. Number 14 will surprise you, because most people completely overlook it. Bulk buying isn't just about emergencies anymore. With grocery prices rising fast, it's one of the smartest financial moves today. I tracked my spending for a year and saved over $3,000 just by buying these items in bulk. Money you can reinvest in prep supplies or just enjoy life while preparing. Let's dive in. Let's start with number 1. And honestly, this one gets ignored so often it's almost ridiculous. Trash bags. But I'm not talking about the flimsy kind you grab at the grocery store. I mean the heavy-duty contractor-grade bags. The thick, durable black ones that can hold around 55 gallons and won't rip the second you put any stress on them. So why do these matter so much? Because when you're in a survival situation, trash bags become way more than just something to hold garbage. I figured this out the hard way back in 2014 during a week-long power outage after a brutal ice storm. Those bags ended up being lifesavers. They worked as emergency rain ponchos, quick fixes for broken windows, tools for collecting water, and even makeshift liners inside sleeping bags to help trap extra heat. For roughly $30, you can get a box of 100 contractor bags, and that single purchase can give you solutions to a wide range of life-or-death problems. If you really think about it, their uses are almost endless. You can turn them into emergency shelter, use them to waterproof your gear, safely dispose of hazardous waste, create privacy barriers, or even use them as a vapor barrier layer to stay warmer in cold conditions. The level of versatility here is honestly hard to overstate, especially considering how little space they take up. If you stacked 10 boxes in your garage, you'd be sitting on 1,000 different problem solvers for situations you probably haven't even imagined yet. Number 2 might sound pretty obvious at first, but chances are you're still not stocking nearly enough of them. Batteries. And I don't mean casually picking up a small pack of AA batteries when you see them on sale. I'm talking about going all in and buying them in bulk, by the case. Here's what a lot of people overlook. When stored the right way, batteries can last anywhere from 5 to 10 years. On top of that, the price gap between buying a small pack versus a bulk case is huge. In fact, when you grab those tiny packs near the checkout line, you're often paying up to 3 times more per battery compared to buying in larger quantities. It's smart to build up a solid zapas of common types, AA, AAA, 9-volt. And don't forget about those small coin cell batteries that power a surprising number of everyday devices. Here's a tip that took me way too long to learn. Never store batteries inside the devices you're not actively using. Instead, keep them in a cool, dry place. Personally, I organize mine in labeled plastic containers down in the basement, where the temperature stays stable all year. And here's something that might seem a bit unexpected. Don't rely only on alkaline batteries. It's worth picking up some lithium ones as well. Even though they cost more upfront, they last significantly longer and handle extreme temperatures much better. When the power goes out and your flashlight is the only thing keeping you from being stuck in total darkness, you'll be glad you planned ahead like this. Number 3 is one of those items I'm willing to bet you've never even considered stockpiling. But once it clicks, you'll be wondering why you didn't start sooner. Washcloths. I'm talking about the most basic kind you can find. Nothing fancy from some home decor store. Just simple, plain white washcloths that come in bulk packs like 24 for around 15 bucks. So why are these such a big deal in an emergency? Because unlike paper towels, which are honestly a terrible prep, washcloths can be used over and over again. Paper towels are single-use, take up a ton of space, and disappear quickly, but washcloths keep going. These little things are incredibly versatile. You can clean with them, use them for basic first aid, handle personal hygiene, strain water if you're in a pinch, or even repurpose old, worn-out ones as fire starters if they've soaked up oils over time. Personally, I've got around 200 of them stored away, and they take up far less room than even a 1-month supply of paper towels would. Back during the shortages in 2020, when people were scrambling and arguing over paper products, I didn't have to worry at all. I was completely set with my stash of washcloths. At the end of the day, it's about simplicity. Use them, wash them, dry them, and then put them right back into rotation. Numbers 4 and 5 really belong together. And honestly, if you're not building a zapas of these, you're not taking prepping seriously. I'm talking about pasta and white rice. Now, I know this isn't exactly groundbreaking. Everyone brings up rice and pasta. But what most people leave out is that how you store them is what determines whether they last a couple of years or several decades. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. At one point, I ended up throwing out 50 pounds of pasta because it got overrun with pantry moths, all because I didn't store it properly. Here's what actually works. As soon as you bring these foods home, move them into airtight containers. Toss in a few bay leaves to help keep pests away, and if you want to take it to the next level, use mylar bags along with oxygen absorbers. Right now, you can grab a 50-pound bag of rice for about $25, but if you were to buy that same amount in small 1-pound packages, you'd be spending closer to $75. And when you store white rice the right way, it can last up to 30 years. Just think about that for a second. The rice you buy today could still be feeding your grandkids during some future emergency. That's what real, long-term preparedness looks like. When it comes to pasta, stick with the basics: spaghetti, penne, macaroni. The more elaborate varieties tend to cost more and don't store nearly as well over time. A smart move is to buy in bulk when prices drop, which usually happens every 6 to 8 weeks at most grocery stores. I personally keep a close eye on pricing, and it's not uncommon to see pasta go from about $1.50 per pound down to around 50 cents during sales. That's your cue to stock up. Fill your cart if you have to. Sure, people might give you odd looks, but when prices spike to something crazy like $8 a pound during the next crisis, you'll be the one who came out ahead. And here's a lesser-known tip. Whole wheat pasta can actually store a bit better than regular white pasta because the natural oils help preserve it. Just be sure to rotate your supply and always use the oldest stock first so nothing goes to waste. Number 6 is dried beans. And if you're not buying these in bulk, you're basically wasting money without realizing it. Take this for example. A 25-pound bag of pinto beans will run you about $20, which breaks down to less than $1 per pound for one of the most protein-rich and nutritious foods you can store. Now compare that to canned beans, which often cost around $3 per pound, and you're instantly saving close to 60% just by going with the dried version. But the real advantage of dried beans goes beyond just the price. It's also about space. 1 pound of dried beans gives you roughly the equivalent of 6 cans once they're cooked. That's a massive reduction in storage needs. It's also worth mixing things up a bit. Stock up on different types like black beans, pinto beans, navy beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, and lentils. Having that variety makes a big difference when you've been relying on your zapas for weeks or even months. Your taste buds will definitely appreciate it. Another major perk is shelf life. Unlike canned goods, which come with expiration dates you have to keep track of, dried beans can last for decades when stored correctly. If you seal them in mylar bags or keep them in food-grade buckets, they can stay good for 25 to 30 years without an issue. I've even eaten beans that were 15 years old, and honestly, there was no noticeable difference. They tasted just as good as a fresh batch. All right, number 7 might sound a little unexpected, and I might lose a few of you here, but stick with me, because this one really matters. Coffee beans. And I'm not talking about pre-ground coffee, I mean whole beans. Also, this isn't just for the hardcore coffee drinkers out there. In a long-term crisis, coffee can easily turn into one of the most valuable barter items you have. It's addictive, it brings comfort, and for a lot of people, it's part of their daily routine. When supply chains start to break down, coffee is usually one of the first luxury items to vanish from shelves. I actually saw this happen in 2017 after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico. Coffee prices didn't just go up, they tripled. At one point, people were even trading things as valuable as generators just to get their hands on coffee. That's how much demand spikes. Now, here's why you want whole beans instead of ground coffee. They last significantly longer. About 5 times longer, in fact. If you vacuum seal whole beans, they can stay fresh for 2 to 3 years, while ground coffee starts losing its quality in just a few weeks. It's also a smart idea to pick up a manual coffee grinder, the kind you can operate by hand without needing electricity. Spend around $50 on a solid hand crank grinder now, and you'll be set. When everyone else is stuck drinking low-quality instant coffee or dealing with caffeine withdrawal, you'll still be enjoying a fresh, proper cup. Number 8 might sound a little strange if you're just getting into serious prepping, but trust me, wheat berries are a total game changer. These are simply whole wheat kernels before they're processed into flour. So why not just store flour instead? Because flour has a pretty short shelf life. It can go bad in as little as 6 months to a year. Wheat berries, on the other hand, can last 30 years or even longer if you store them correctly. Right now, you can pick up a 50-pound bag for around $30, and that amount can produce roughly 42 pounds of fresh flour. Compare that to the grocery store, where you're paying about $4 for a 5-pound bag of flour, and the savings become obvious. You're cutting costs by around 70%, and on top of that, you're getting flour that's fresher and more nutritious. Another big advantage is versatility. You're not limited to just making flour. Wheat berries can be cooked whole like rice, sprouted to grow fresh greens even during the winter months, or ground into flour whenever you actually need it. Of course, you'll want a grain mill for that, either a hand crank version or an electric one. I personally keep both on hand, with the manual grinder as a backup for when the power goes out. And here's a fun detail most people don't realize. You can actually pop wheat berries just like popcorn. They turn into a crunchy, slightly nutty snack that's surprisingly addictive. My kids can't get enough of it. Now let's talk about number 9. This one does require a bit more money up front, but the long-term payoff is massive: buying meat in bulk. And I don't just mean grabbing those larger family packs at the grocery store, although that's a decent starting point. I'm talking about going straight to the source and purchasing a quarter, half, or even a whole cow directly from a local rancher. For example, last year I bought half a cow for $1,600, and it gave me roughly 220 pounds of beef. Everything from ground meat to high-quality steak cuts. When you break that down, it comes out to about $7 per pound for grass-fed, organic beef. If I had tried to buy that same quality meat at a regular grocery store, I would have easily spent over $4,000. Of course, storage is the key factor here. You'll need a deep freezer, ideally 2 of them. One dedicated to your bulk meat supply and another for your everyday frozen items. Here's a tip most people don't hear about. Vacuum seal the meat yourself. Butcher paper works fine for short-term storage, but if you want your meat to last, vacuum sealing is the way to go. Properly sealed, your meat can stay good for 2 to 3 years in the freezer without suffering from freezer burn. During the meat shortages in 2020, when ground beef prices climbed to around $10 per pound in some areas, I was pulling ribeye steaks out of my freezer that had only cost me about $5 per pound. Number 10 is all about cleaning supplies, and buying these in bulk can save you a surprising amount of money over time. We're talking about basics like bleach, dish soap, laundry detergent, and all-purpose cleaners. The price markup on smaller bottles is honestly ridiculous when you break it down. For example, a full gallon of bleach might cost around $3, but those smaller 32-ounce bottles often go for $2.50 each, which means you're paying more than double per ounce without even realizing it. The smarter move is to stock up on larger containers, or even better, buy concentrated versions and dilute them yourself as needed. When it comes to laundry detergent, skip the name brand options with flashy packaging and go for commercial-grade products, the same kind used in hotels and laundromats. You can get a 50-pound bucket of commercial laundry powder for about $40, and that's enough to last a family of 4 for an entire year. If you tried to get that same amount using those smaller, decorative plastic bottles from the store, you'd end up spending over $300. Another advantage is shelf life. Powdered detergent can be stored for years without any issues, while liquid versions can separate or lose their effectiveness over time. Now, since we're already on the topic of cleaning, let's move on to number 11. And yes, this one has to be mentioned. Toilet paper. We all remember what happened in 2020. People were literally fighting in store aisles over packs of Charmin. It sounds ridiculous now, but at the time, it showed just how quickly things can spiral. What that whole situation made clear is this: toilet paper is one of the first things to vanish during any crisis. Everyone needs it. No one wants to be without it. And there's really no easy way to replace it at home. The smart move is to buy in bulk, especially the commercial-grade rolls, the oversized ones that almost don't fit on a standard holder. Sure, they're not as soft or luxurious as the premium brands, but they last a lot longer and cost significantly less. Personally, I always keep at least a 6-month supply on hand. For a family of 4, that comes out to around 96 rolls. It might sound excessive at first, but during the shortages, people were paying as much as $50 for a single 12-pack on resale sites. Meanwhile, my entire stockpile only cost me about $120. When you compare that to what panic buyers ended up spending, the difference is pretty eye-opening. Number 12 is the backbone of any solid food storage plan: canned goods. But here's where most people go wrong. They stick to the standard grocery store cans. That's the expensive route. If you want to save money and space, aim for the giant number 10 cans, the same ones restaurants use. For example, a number 10 can of green beans costs around $6 and holds roughly 6.5 pounds of food. Compare that to buying the same amount in regular-sized cans, and you're looking at $15 or more. On top of that, you're dealing with fewer individual cans, which means less storage clutter and less waste. A good strategy is to check out restaurant supply stores, online bulk retailers, or even ask local restaurants where they source their ingredients. Many will sell to the public, they just don't advertise it. Stock up on essentials like vegetables, fruits, tomato sauce, and especially proteins such as canned chicken and tuna. These larger cans have just as long a shelf life as the smaller ones. Once you open a number 10 can, you can either transfer the contents into smaller containers for easier use, or even recan them yourself in smaller jars to make your stockpile more manageable. Number 13 is oats, and not that instant sugary stuff. I'm talking about whole rolled oats or steel-cut oats purchased in bulk. A 50-pound bag goes for about $35, which works out to just 70 cents per pound for one of the most versatile and nutritious foods you can store. Of course, oatmeal makes a great breakfast, but it's far from its only use. You can grind it into flour, use it as a filler in ground beef recipes, make homemade granola, or even use it for skincare. Yep, oatmeal baths are a real thing and can help soothe poison ivy or other skin irritations. When stored in airtight containers, oats can last up to 30 years. They're loaded with protein, fiber, and essential nutrients. During the Great Depression, families survived on oatmeal because it was affordable, filling, and nutritious. If it was reliable enough to feed our grandparents during the toughest economic times in modern history, it's more than good enough for your emergency food supply today. Now, number 14 is one that's likely to catch you off guard. Vitamins and supplements, especially vitamin C, vitamin D, multivitamins, and zinc. This is something almost no one in the prepping world talks about, but nutritional deficiencies can take you down faster than nearly anything else during a prolonged crisis. You can stockpile all the rice, beans, and pasta in the world, but if your body isn't getting the essential vitamins and minerals it needs, your health will start to deteriorate. Think scurvy, rickets, anemia. These aren't just old-timey pirate diseases. They're very real conditions that develop when your diet lacks variety and key nutrients. The smart move is to buy these supplements in bulk whenever they're on sale. Those giant bottles at warehouse stores are ideal. For example, a full year's supply of multivitamins for one person will run about $30 if you buy in bulk. That's under 10 cents per day for a kind of nutritional insurance. Keep them stored in a cool, dark spot, and they can maintain their potency for 2 to 3 years past the expiration date. Number 15 is cooking oil, and this is one area where buying strategically can really pay off. Oil isn't just for cooking. It's a vital source of calories and can even double as lamp fuel if you need it in a pinch. Not all oils are ideal for long-term storage, though. Coconut oil is hands down the best choice for preppers. It can last up to 5 years without going rancid, stays solid at room temperature for easy storage, and even has natural antimicrobial properties. Look for gallon containers or even 5-gallon buckets. Right now, you can grab 5 gallons of coconut oil for about $60. That's a whopping 15,000 calories per gallon, shelf-stable and ready whenever you need it. Olive oil is another smart option, but only buy it in dark containers and store it in the coolest, darkest spot you have. On the other hand, avoid vegetable and canola oils for long-term prepping. They go rancid too quickly and simply aren't worth taking up precious storage space. Number 16 might seem over the top at first, but once you look at the numbers, it makes perfect sense. Salt. Plain, simple salt. I'm not talking about the fancy pink Himalayan stuff, though it's nice to have, but basic table salt and canning salt bought in bulk. Salt literally never goes bad. It has been preserving food for thousands of years and will still work just as well decades, or even centuries, from now. A 50-pound bag costs about $8. That's right, $8. Compare that to the same amount in small retail containers, which can easily run $50 or more. Salt isn't just for flavor. It's essential for preserving food, maintaining electrolyte balance, cleaning wounds, and countless other uses. I personally keep around 200 pounds in my storage. That might sound like a lot, but it actually fits into just 4 or 5-gallon buckets. In a true long-term crisis, salt can even become a form of currency. Historically, it's been traded ounce for ounce like gold. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid with it, which is actually where the word salary comes from. Finally, number 17 is vinegar. And I'm not joking when I say this stuff is a prepper's Swiss Army knife. White vinegar, apple cider vinegar, even cleaning vinegar, they all have countless uses. Vinegar preserves food, cleans everything from windows to minor wounds, deodorizes, kills weeds, and the list goes on. The key is to buy it by the gallon, not those tiny bottles. A gallon of white vinegar costs around $3, while the same amount in 16-ounce bottles can run $12 or more. Apple cider vinegar with the mother is a health powerhouse. It can aid digestion, help regulate blood sugar, and even act as a natural antibiotic. During the 1918 flu pandemic, people who regularly consumed apple cider vinegar had noticeably lower infection rates. Coincidence? Maybe. But at $3 a gallon, I'm not taking chances. Here's something most preppers overlook. Buying in bulk isn't just about having stuff. It's about having options. With deep stores of essentials, you're not forced into panic decisions. You're not standing in long lines or paying inflated prices. You're home, secure, and able to take care of your family with supplies purchased when times were good. Finally, bulk buying isn't about fear. It's about wisdom. Our ancestors did this, storing food for winter, buying in bulk at harvest, preserving and planning ahead. Modern just-in-time delivery has dulled these skills, but recent supply disruptions are warnings, not anomalies. The smart move is to be resilient, self-sufficient, and prepared, no matter what normal looks like. Your homework. Pick 3 items from this list. Research the best prices in your area, secure storage, and make your first bulk purchase this week. Not next month, not when you have more money or space. Start small, but start now. Don't aim for perfection. Just be a little more prepared today than yesterday. Buy 1 extra can, choose the bulk package, make small decisions. They compound into major preparedness over time. The path to security isn't fancy gear. It's boring basics bought in bulk: rice, beans, salt, soap. These unglamorous essentials save money now and can literally save your life tomorrow. Every item mentioned here saves money today, even in normal times. This isn't doomsday prepping. It's smart resource management, control over your family's security, and freedom from supply chain chaos. Now that you have the knowledge, the question is, what will you do with it? Keep buying overpriced small packages, living paycheck to paycheck, hoping nothing goes wrong? Or take action, build your bulk supplies, and create real security for your family? Once you start, see the savings, and feel the security of deep supplies, you'll never go back. You might even become the person teaching others these lessons when they need them most. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive. If it helped, subscribe so you don't miss future insights, and leave your best bulk buying tip in the comments. Let's build a stronger, more prepared community together. Remember, being prepared isn't paranoia, it's practicality. Stay safe, stay smart, and keep stacking those supplies.